Perfect. All right, so I said earlier that today is part 2 of a series that we've done. Our protection.
Choice.
There it is.
I got it. I got it, Richard.
I hear you.
He's got it. Why isn't healthy choosing is today. But last Sunday the topic was wholeness and health are mine. If you weren't here last week, or even if you were, the highlights, just in brief recap last week, were first of all, that Ernest Holmes, our founder, said a whole lot about wholeness and health and healing. And if you're interested, in the Science of Mind, what we call a textbook, chapters 14 and 15 are full of ideas. Most of his writings have a lot of health issues and wholeness issues in them. 2 whole chapters dedicated to it, and you can read it. So this is part of where my inspiration comes from. Part of it is just my own understanding and my own growth. But that was the first thing. I reminded us that we are already born whole, perfect, and complete. We are already born whole, perfect, and complete. My tongue's having a little issue today. It must mean that Spanish I did. We don't necessarily get taught that as we grow up, however, but that's the truth. If we are created in the image and likeness of God, we are already born whole and perfect and complete. So the next thing we need to do is practice right thinking about that. Right thinking, not as opposed to wrong thinking, but just right thinking to me means just remember again, we're whole and we're perfect and complete. Keep remembering that. Keep that in the front of our awareness all the time. Thinking right to me also means thinking in terms of greater possibilities. Keeping that in our awareness that we're never stuck with any situation that we're in right now. Thinking in terms of greater possibilities. And in terms of health and wholeness, right thinking to me always goes back to the awareness that I'm already whole and perfect and complete. So right thinking also includes our affirmations, our affirmative statements where we remind ourselves, all is well, I am healthy, etc. So those are some of my main points from last week. I also ended us remembering to be grateful. Gratitude is so, so vital for our body's well-being, for our mind, for our emotions. All aspects of us are so dependent upon our gratitude. Because our bodies and our minds respond to whining and complaining one way and respond to gratitude another way. And we want to have the gratitude response. People have healed their whole entire physical body by gratitude alone. Just by saying thank you, being so grateful for these bodies, for these minds, for these lives. So gratitude is how I ended us. I put a little piece in last week about changing our habits, but I said that'll be next week. So today we're going into that aspect of it. So we begin with always remembering that we are whole and perfectly complete. And then we go to the part that Debbie sang about. You heard me say pretty much every single week, sometimes more, sometimes less, that we must choose. Whether we like it or not, we must choose. We were born to be choosing beings. And that's how we interact with spiritual law. So our choices are our prayers. Every choice that we make is moving us in a particular direction. And so we just get to ask ourselves, is the choices that I'm making moving me in the direction that I want to go with? It can really be that simple. Is the choice I'm making today, this moment, moving me in the direction I want to go to? Now please don't worry about every little tiny thought or every little tiny choice, because I know sometimes when you take classes it can get kind of scary. We had this conversation in my Essential Artist class, like, oh my gosh, every little choice. No, it's really the bigger tendencies. But be aware of it. Are these leading me to where I want to go, or are these leading me down a path where I don't really want to be? It can be that simple. So you're going to hear it, as long as you come to this church, choose. Because choose also means pray. Those are your affirmations. I add, when you're choosing, this is really strong for me, and I'll just say it for you. When you choose, try to do your best to choose from the desired good and not from fear. If you're choosing something from fear, the energy is completely different. Sometimes, though, that's what we do. We choose, I'm afraid of this, and so I choose that. Well, that's a good start. That can maybe kick you in the butt. I don't want to experience that, so that fear is going to make me choose this other thing. That's a start. I want us to move from needing the fear to kick us in the butt to make the choice to the vision and desired good to move us into the new choice. Do you feel the difference? This over here is, it's an energy that we don't want. So use it if you must, but then know that you're choosing from this wonderful potentiality that you have, and you can have anything you want. Now I'm going to tell you to drop a few words when it comes to things like your dietary habits, the way you eat, the way you exercise, rest, all these things that have to do with our physical body. I'm going to ask you to drop 3 words. Good, bad, can't. Can't. Here's the context of the word can't. You've got this dessert in front of you. I can't have that. Yes, you can. It's a choice. The minute, I don't know, maybe you're different than me. The minute I tell myself I can't, I want 20. Good, I'm glad I wasn't the only one. Can't is a restriction. We're not born to be restricted. We are born to have limitless possibilities. So I want you to drop the word can't in that context. Oh, I can't eat that cake. Yeah, you can. It's a choice. That's all. Okay? Good and bad. Here's the context that I mean about the good and bad. And it goes along with the word can't. I can't have that cake because it's bad for me. Okay, so I don't have to say very much about this, right? Feel just the energetic of what's going on in my body. I walk up to the counter and I go, ooh, chocolate, cake, candy, cookies. Ooh, I shouldn't have that. I can't have that because it's bad for me. Right? I just told my body it's bad for me. I just told my body it's bad. I have come to understand that anytime I say I'm going to eat this, and if it's bad for me and I'm eating it, what message did I just send to my body? And what self-judgment message did I just send to my body? It took me a long time to get this. A whole long time. Because I, like most people, I can't have that, that's bad for me. I want it all more. Yeah, it makes you want it more. If you go ahead and eat it anyway, don't you feel guilty then afterward? Shouldn't have done that. I'm going to pay for it tomorrow. You know what I say instead? If you're going to choose the cake, enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Because if the message is self-judgment, it's not going to move you in the direction you want to go. And if the message to your body is, this is bad for me, how's your body going to respond to that? This is bad for me, I might as well have just eaten poison. The only reason I say to drop the word good is because when you say, this is good for me, the opposite is implied. The bad that I just explained is implied. If I say this is really good for me, then the opposite is sort of implied in there. That one's a little bit, you can, lighten up a little bit. I'm going to eat this quinoa today because it's really good for me. That feels really powerful. Just be aware of the good-bad dynamic that happens. When we say something's good, it implies something else is bad and that we can't have it. I don't want you to judge yourself. I want you to just choose. I don't want to judge myself. I want to just choose. I don't want to send the message to my body that it's bad. What I say instead is, if I'm going to eat that cake, I'm going to enjoy every precious bite, and I say my body knows exactly what to do with this. That's what I choose. Now, I just share stuff with you. You can do with it whatever you want to do, but I don't want us in guilt and judgment. Okay, that's point number 1. So mostly drop the that's bad for me and drop the I can't have it. Because you can if you want it. It's just a choice and you might as well enjoy it. Okay? The second one is kind of an extension, is just be honest. Be honest with yourself. If I am not going to choose something healthy at any given moment, rather than trying to convince myself that I'm going to, it's just much easier if I say to myself, I don't feel like choosing something healthy right now. I want a hamburger instead. And I'm going to just go enjoy it. Same thing. So for me, I've learned that if I'm just honest with me, it's so much easier to make the choice that I want to. It's for me. When I'm in a situation, I'll just make this all about me. I don't get to blame somebody else if I eat the cake. It's nobody else's fault. Don't blame somebody else. Don't blame the circumstance. Just be honest. If you're going, you're with me, right? If I'm going to make that choice that's not so wonderful for how I'm going to eat,